Hey, what's up guys? How are you today? Welcome to my vlog. It's a bit windy today, although I have fully I fully clothed myself with thermal kind of stuff. So all the linings are in my jacket, my pants, my new leather gloves that I mentioned before. That they laid in my cupboard for like 2 months, something like that. So these are my new gloves that I mentioned already. There you go. They look like that. Not so bad. Comfortable, warm. I don't feel any coldness in them yet. It's not winter yet, but they're fine. They're doing well. That's what I want to say. Yeah, they're doing well. Anyway, that's not today's topic. Not my gloves. Today's topic is the common riders' mistakes. And in today's topic, in today's episode, let's call it, I will talk about indicators. And you may probably, if you watch my lifesaver video, you might remember that I mentioned indicators in there. I mentioned them very briefly, and there's more to indicators than you may think. There's a lot more to indicators than you may think. I've seen people not working, so that's great. So let's start. Okay, and this guy's gonna. I'll just let him pass so that he doesn't, obstruct him. Okay, there we go. So the first mistake we're gonna tackle is the forgetting to switch off your indicator. So forgetting to switch off your indicator, memory sometimes plays the tricks on us, and we forget about that, especially since we have to do it manually. We don't have automatic switch or cancelling indicator cancelling kind of thing. So we don't have automatic like cars, for example, do. We have to do it manually, like that. And you would think, yeah, it's a mistake, of course, if we don't switch it off and it's for like 20 seconds, 30 seconds, it stays on and you ride with it. It's a mistake, of course, but you probably think, oh, it's just an innocent mistake, nothing can happen. Like you cannot fall off your bike, nothing is gonna happen to you. And you'd be wrong, actually. It's a very crucial mistake. It's a very dangerous mistake, potentially. Not per se, not automatically dangerous, like for example lifesaver. Lack of lifesaver, if you don't do a lifesaver and something is there, it's automatic, kind of you can crash. This one is not. This one is potentially dangerous. Because nothing can happen if you leave your indicators on, but something may happen. And that something is, if I leave my indicator on, let's say I am turning right, and there's a car trying to go out. He may go out because he thinks, oh, I'm gonna turn right, so I'm slowing down, for example, and I will be turning right. But my intention is to go straight. It's just my indicator is wrong. I didn't switch it off. So what the car guy can do, he can actually cut me off, because he thinks I will be slowing down anyway, and I will be turning right, or even left. Left turns are even more apparent, because if you have a left indicator, and we drive on the left hand side of the road, obviously. So if you have a left indicator by a mistake, so you didn't switch it off, a person who's on the left turn might go out on you because they think you are turning left. So it's potentially very dangerous. You can have a crash because of that. So this mistake can be very dangerous. And on mod 2, if you forget to switch off your indicators, yeah, he will fail you. Actually, it's a fail. So I think first time when you do it, and it's you figure it out like after 10 seconds or something like that, he will just give you like a minor. But if you do it again, or if you do it for a very long time, for like half a minute and longer than that, if you keep your indicator, and especially if you create a situation on the road, he's gonna follow you. It's an automatic fail because you confuse people, and that's why this mistake can be so critical. It may seem innocent at first, but it can lead to an accident, and that's why they will fail you for that. he can actually, the examiner can actually fail you for that, for not switching off your indicators. So as you can see, this fault is much more dangerous than it seems, and especially much more dangerous than of course stalling. But as I said, the risk is potential, so it might happen, it might not happen, and you don't know if something might happen or not, so you don't know the future, and therefore it's better to know, to switch off your indicators when you actually complete the turn. That's the best idea, basically. So how do you prevent, that? How can you prevent that? And it's basically the same as with lifesavers. You just have to remember about canceling them. That's it. I mean, yeah, it sounds very, very simple and easy when I say this. Obviously, it sounds simple, easy, and so on. I know people are stressed when they start out. They have a lot of stuff to think about, and I know that. So I have come up with something that I myself use, and it's a rule that I use. I try to implement, which is when I complete the turn, I don't change my gear first. I switch my indicator off first, then I can change the gear. So I remember it that way. So for example, let's say I'm stopping completely on the roundabout and I'm turning left. I'm turning left over here, so I'm switching my indicator on. Right? Let me demonstrate that to you, how I do it. So these people are turning left as well. They usually don't have to worry about cancelling their indicators because they're in cars, in four-wheel vehicles, basically. And they have a steering wheel, not steering bar, and steering wheel basically will cancel that for them after they complete the turn, most of the time. I can go. So I took the turn, I switch off my indicator, and then I change the gear. That's how I do it, right? So if you look at my clocks, I first switch off the indicator, then change the gear. So you don't have to change your gear very quickly after the turn. You can switch off your indicator first and then change the gear. And that's how I do it. Now obviously I have a faster bike, so it may not work for everyone, but that's the method I use. But in slow moving traffic and slow kind of turning areas where you have junctions, this one is roundabout, so it's a bit faster because I had to add more speed in the beginning to leave the roundabout. So perhaps a 125 would need a second gear over there because the bike would already, kind of roar. So perhaps it's not for everyone, but for slower turns, not roundabouts, for example, mini roundabouts perhaps. That's a better idea. And junctions, that can work for you no problem. So first complete the turn, turn off your indicator, then switch to the next gear, so to the second gear. So first indicator, cancel indicator, second gear. And it's actually second gear because you will go to second gear most of the time if you are moving from a standstill position. So that's how you can prevent it, and that's the method I actually use. That's the method I actually use. That's the method I actually use to remember that I have to switch off my indicator first before I can do my gears up. Oh, holy shit. That's a sudden change a bit. I wouldn't make it. So I had to brake. Anyway. Right? So that's the first fault. And as I said, it can be very crucial, and that's how you can prevent it. So you can use my method or use any method that you come up with yourself. You can use my method, you can use any method. It's just that you have to remember about cancelling your indicators after you complete the turn. Right? It's that simple. So this fault is usually with learners, but that doesn't mean full license holders cannot do that mistake. And I am guilty of that mistake as myself. It can happen to anyone, literally anyone. Doesn't matter how experienced you are, it can happen. You just too much stuff in your head and you forget about simple indicator. Okay, that kind of scared me, this game. Again, you can forget about simple indicator. So that's one mistake, which may seem like nothing, but it's very crucial. Another mistake is lack of indicators, the total lack of indicators. So it's not like forgetting to cancel the indicator, it's not switching them on in first place. Now, this is something very common with experienced riders, now I will say. Because this is a bad habit. Not switching on your indicators is a bad habit. I've seen a lot of people without L plates actually not switching on their indicators properly, not indicating properly. Of course, people who are on L plates do that as well, but the worrying part is that people who have full license do that, which is something I found odd, because you have to do your indicators really well on the test on the mod 2, and I account that to a bad habit. Bad habits are very, very hard to get rid of. So once you get into a bad habit of not indicating at certain points, or not doing lifesavers or shoulder checks at certain points, you will continue like that throughout your experience. So that doesn't mean you are getting better because you have more experience. You are continuing on with the same mistakes you're doing all the time, and instead of correcting them, that's why they call bad habits. Car drivers are also very guilty of that indication, lack of indication. I've seen that in perhaps even more in car drivers than bikers. Usually bikers indicate more than car drivers, from what I noticed throughout the years on the road. And car drivers are very guilty of that. Okay, I don't know why you're stopping. I don't know why you're going now. Car drivers are very guilty of that as well. So lack of indication is very crucial and very bad mistake. Probably as bad, if not worse, than actually forgetting to turn them off. Because lack of indication, when you have your indicator left over, you didn't cancel it, and that's usually for bikers. Can happen with car drivers, but usually for bikers. Don't stop here, dude. Like, you already passed the line. I want to overtake that guy because it's okay. I'll overtake him. So lack of indicator is worse, because when you have a mistaken indicator, so you didn't turn off your indicator by mistake, people can figure it out sort of, and it's kind of potential. With lack of indicators, it's worse, because people have no clue that you have a mistaken indicator. They may not actually, is this guy gonna turn here or not? Is this a mistaken indicator or something? You didn't cancel it or something? No, because you don't have indicator at all. They will assume you just want to go straight. That's the rule. If you don't put any indicators on, you're going straight. So if you're going straight, but in reality you are turning left and you didn't put an indicator on, these people may actually crash into you because they think, oh, you're going straight, so I can just, go out or whatever, right? I can turn here or something. But you're actually turning. So, yeah, you can create an accident, and that as well is a potential, bigger, I think, potential to cause a crash, an accident, than mistaken indicator. Rather than not cancelled indicator, let's call it like that. So lack of indicators is very crucial and it's very bad. And as I said, on mod 2, you would actually not pass your mod 2 without indicating properly. So these two are, as I said, these are very similar, because not cancelling and not using is the same kind of principle. You just have to remember about doing that stuff. So it's like with lifesaver. You have to remember about doing them. And with indicators, you have to remember about switching them off, and you have to remember about using them. So, and it's for the other one, the latter one, is for car drivers most of the time. It's for car drivers most of the time, because I usually saw the car drivers not indicating on roundabouts, on mini roundabouts especially on mini roundabouts. I'd say that. So that's something to look out for when you're on mini roundabouts. Don't always assume a car will go somewhere or a bike will go somewhere. Take caution, basically. And remember about doing them. And cancelling, and about doing your indications. So remember about doing your indications. I don't have a specific method about remembering to do your indications. I just do them because when I see, for example, I want to turn left, I put my indicator on. I check my shoulders and I do my indication. So maybe that would be the best idea to go forward. Like make yourself a list of the steps you have to do in order to turn. And each school, even on CBT, will tell you like PSL, OMS, I think, something like that. Observation signal maneuver it was, so OSM, I think. And PSL, I think it was, so it's position signal look, something like that. So if you follow the rule like that, then you should be fine, because you know that you have to indicate over here or you have to indicate over here, and then just remember about cancelling them, like I told you, for example, before you change a gear to a higher gear, turn off your indicator, because when you change the gear, you're okay, I'm going already, yeah, so it's fine, yeah, I'm going and you forget about your indicator. That's how you forget. That's how I actually forgot, or every time it happened. So I changed my gear and I just, okay, let's go, yeah, this nice road ahead, okay, let's go. It's clean, or traffic, okay, I have to go like here, there's there. And you forgot about indicator. But when you do the indicator first, you cannot forget about it anymore, because it's done, it's dusted off your head. So that's what I'm saying, it's better to think of some sort of like a procedure for yourself, whether you use mine or someone else's or something else or your own. And keep to that procedure, keep to it and follow it. And that way you will, I'm not saying you will never forget about the indicators, turning off your indicators or using them, but it's something that will prevent that most of the time. So you will remember, oh, my rule, okay, I have to switch off my indicator, cancel my indicator. So this will be in your head, and you'll remember that this way. Obviously, it still can happen, but it will happen much, much less often, of course, with that rule in place. So these are the two very crucial mistakes, which may seem, first of them at least, may seem a bit, oh, actually, overtake that guy over here, because I'm on the junction, which may seem innocent, but it's not. It can lead to an accident, and the second one obviously can lead to an accident. It doesn't seem innocent at all, because you don't convey your intentions to anyone, and therefore that can lead to an accident, which is lack of indication. Right? But there is a third one, and it's not very common like the other two. The other two are common, the most common, but there's a third one, and that is misuse of indicators. Now, I'm not saying wrong use of indicators, because wrong use of indicators exist. So, for example, using a left indicator to turn right, that's wrong use of indicators, isn't it? That's simply wrong use of indicators. But misuse of indicators is a bit different. It's when, for example, you have no choice to go somewhere, and yet you put an indicator on. So, for example, let's say you are on a lane which turns left only. You cannot go anywhere else on that lane. You can only go left. So, left turn only lane. There is no point to put an indicator there. You don't need an indicator, because why? Why would you need an indicator? For example, here I need to change lanes to the left, because there are two lanes, so I need to put my indicator on, and I do shoulder checks and stuff like that. But here, I no longer need an indicator. This lane turns left only. I cannot go anywhere else from this lane. There are lights as well, so that means when I go left, no other traffic will go from that side. and I'm joining the left side of the street. That indicator the guy over there has is useless, right? That prior's over there. You don't need that indicator. I don't need that indicator because I know you can only turn left. The signs on the light post are telling me that, and the arrow on the street tells me that as well. I actually have to go left. By law, I have to go left. I cannot go anywhere else on this lane. So that's a misuse of indicator. That indicator does not have any benefits to anyone. So therefore, in my eyes, it's a fault because it has no use to anyone, and you don't know how to use an indicator. If you're switching your indicators on that type of turn, why would you do that? What's the benefit of that? If everyone goes the same way, no one can go different way. Why would you indicate that where others don't? That's what I'm saying. That's a misuse of indicators. And as you can see, it can happen. It can happen. It's not a very serious mistake, but it can confuse people. And it can confuse people in a way that when you put your left indicator on, people may think, oh, is he like stopping to the side, for example? Because when you want to stop to the side, you use the left indicator and you stop on the side, right? So if you put your left indicator on left only turn, does that mean you're stopping or you're turning? See, it's confusing people. And that's what I'm saying. To me, it's a mistake. I don't know if others would agree with that, but that's, to me, is a mistake. Not a very common one, and it's not a very expensive mistake, let's call it like that. Loud exhaust. Not very expensive mistake, but mistake nonetheless. And as you can see, people do it. I would say mostly in cars, but learners on bikes do it as well. So it does happen, I've seen it a lot of times, but it's not as common as the other two. Right? So these are the 3 mistakes associated with indicators that I know of. The biggest one, let's say. The biggest mistakes associated with indicators. And as I said, the last one is, in my eyes, a mistake, and to correct that, you just have to know where to use an indicator. So if you have a lane that can only go one way, and there's just no other way to go, there's no point for indication, for me. I will never indicate on that type of road because there's no point for me to indicate. It's useless. And as you can see, most of the people didn't indicate as well. So people behind me, people in front of me, only one person indicated. And so that's why I don't indicate, and I think that's a fault if you indicate, because it's misuse of indicators. Now, wrong indication is also something that can happen. Obviously, it's not very common. It's usually when people don't know where to go, or they're searching for some place that they're not sure. So they use, for example, left indicator, but then they change their mind. Instead of turning on the right indicator, they don't turn on the right indicator and turn right. So they change their mind because they not sure where to go, for example. So yes, it is a mistake, but it's a mistake that I don't see very often. It's not a very common mistake. So I wouldn't call it common mistake. It is a mistake. It's a wrong use of indicators, not misuse. It's a wrong use of indicators. It's 20 or 30 now. I don't know. I think it's 20 now. Didn't check. I would just go 20 for... Don't know. I don't know if they changed it or not. They're changing everything over here. So anyway, these are the faults and how to prevent them. That's pretty much it about the indicators. I don't want to make it too long, and I already did it long. But as you can see, the topic of indicators is not very short. There's loads to indicators than you might have thought, and therefore the topic is so long because I had 3 or 4 faults actually to cover in this video alone concerning one type of thing. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully this video comes to you useful to you, and that's pretty much it. As I said, I'm not going to make it any longer, so just visit the links in the description below. You'll find my Patreon, my novels and stuff like that over there. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video or vlog, whatever it may be, and blast out.